Okay, so chapter 37, they are at Holyrood, which is, again, a place in Scotland. I know there's Holyrood Palace. I think that's where they're staying. We're in the fall, and it's 1745. I kept rolling my eyes in these chapters. I know, Charles was like, come on. So yes, they're at Holyrood Palace. This is in Edinburgh, and they are with Prince Charles, and a page comes to get Claire to tell her that Prince Charles has requested to see her, and he wants her to bring her medicine box. And Claire's kind of confused because she knows Prince Charles really doesn't think too highly of her ever since, at least he wasn't saying Mark, for sure. But ever since he's heard the stories about La Dame Blanche, he's kind of like been wary of her. So she's confused as to why he would want her to treat him. But when she goes to meet him, he tells her that there's actually a clan chieftain who is still undecided on who they want to back in the war, and they want to speak to Claire. Claire is so confused because, and I was confused. I don't know why I didn't see this part coming, but she's really confused because she doesn't know any clan chieftains. Like, all the clan chieftains that she know are already there with them and have joined the army. So Charles tells her, like, it's of utmost importance that you convince this chief to join us. And oh, poor Charles, he's like so desperate. So she goes in. Hi, Ladybug. So she goes in to meet this chieftain, and none other than Colin Mackenzie. And I think because things are so different in the show, I'm like really surprised with a lot of things that are happening in the book. Because I don't know who, I guess I expected it to be Dougal, if anybody, although he's not a chieftain, but I figured he would be like war chief, you know, if that counts. I don't know. But anyway, I didn't expect it to be Colin. Yeah, another surprise. So Colin tells Claire that he asked to see her because he owes her an apology, which he sure does. He is the reason why Galus got arrested and Claire was arrested with Galus. So he tells her, and Claire already knows this, that she was never meant to be arrested, right? And he asks her, why were you even there? And she said, because I had received word that Galus was ill and she was asking for me. And he asks who told her that, and she said it was Leary. Yeah, he didn't help her either. That's true. He could have, and he didn't. So Colin tells her, I figured it was Leary. And he asks Claire, would you have your vengeance on her? And she's confused by this, and he tells her that Leary has married one of his tacksmen, and his tacksman will basically do or punish her however Colin wants. So Claire kind of takes a minute to sit and think and weigh the options, and she's really thinking about her time in the thieves' hole. And at the end, I mean, she remembers that Leary's only 16, and she really did want to marry Jamie. And I love how Claire even says she thought she loved him, and then she's like, who am I to say that her feelings aren't real? Even if she didn't go about it the right way, like, I have no say in her feelings. Like, I can't say she didn't love him or she thought she loved him. Like, she very well could have. So even after all that Leary has done to her, Claire still can't see her as an evil person. And Claire just kind of has comfort in the fact that she has survived. She has Jamie, right? And Leary can never have him. So Claire is smart, and she knows Colin didn't come. I know, it's so mature of Claire. Claire's more mature than me, because I would be like, yeah, actually. She is always causing trouble. Hi, Doreen, I love you. Thank you, my love. So Claire tells him, I know you didn't come all this way just to apologize to me. So, you know, what's going on? And he says, yeah, that's true. I didn't even know you were going to be here until Prince Charles mentioned Jamie Fraser. And he tells her he's just in a lot of pain. And so Claire tells him she can give him some laudanum. And he doesn't want that. He wants his mind to be fully there. Like, he wants to be conscious of what's going on. And she kind of puts the puzzle pieces together and figures out what he's asking. So he has come to see Charles Stewart for himself. Hi, Elizabeth. He's come to see Charles for himself and decide whether he's worth Clan Mackenzie backing him, right? Of course, Dougal will lead this, but he is still the one that calls the shots. So he tells her that he figured Claire would know how Galus, I thought it was gonna, I know. I was surprised when it was something different too. So he tells her, I figured you knew, or you know, how Galus poisoned her husband, and you could do that to me. So many important moments in these chapters. I know. I don't understand. Like, they change. I mean, I guess I understand because they only have so much time on a TV show, but they really condensed so much and just changed so much for the show. I couldn't believe how much was changed. It's crazy. So Claire ends up giving him cyanide, which is what Galus used on Arthur. And he tells her, now you understand. I know. And Doreen, it's funny because I said, my friends always say, was that the book or the show? I don't remember. And I'm like, I'm going to be one of those people because I already am. I'm like, was that in the book or was that in the show? Was it in both? I don't remember. So it's just all becoming like one. So Colum tells her, at least, he never thought that she was a witch. And, you know, even though she didn't tell him who she was. But she knows, even if she told him that she was a time traveler, he's not going to believe her, right? So she just tells him, just call me a witch because it's the closest you're going to get. So you know, even that part was so different than the book. And I always love seeing them describe Angus as this big burly guy, because in the show he's so little, and I can't picture Angus in the books. I just keep, every time they mention Angus, I see Angus in the show, and I don't know, it just doesn't fit. So after that, Claire goes to watch Jamie and Dougal demonstrate Highland sword fighting for a member of the Spanish court. I did too. That's one change I really did like. I love that they had that duo of Rupert and Angus. I feel like, and I talked about that last week whenever Kincaid died, I feel like those changes were important because we weren't emotionally connected to Kincaid. I mean, they kind of made him a bigger deal in the show with Ross, but we went from season 1 watching Rupert and Angus, and so to have them die at Preston Pans, it was so much more of a blow than just Kincaid in the books, because it's like you're emotionally connected to these characters. So I think that was really important. Going over the yeah. So yes, Jamie and Dougal are getting ready to put on like a Highland sword fighting show demonstration for a member of the Spanish court, and bobbleheads. And Charles still really wants money from Spain. He needs the financial backing. Louis isn't going to do it for him, but he has hope with Philip of Spain, because of a letter that Philip of Spain had sent his father, supposedly. So he's really wanting this to go well. So there's a Lord Balmerino, and he is like a Jacobite earl, He's one of those, I think, that has like Charles's ear. But he pulls Claire aside and he shows her these broadsheets that have been put out. And one of them was of Charles. And it had said how he's like unlawfully here and he's trying to start this rebellion that has like no foot to stand on, basically. So, but it was trying to drive home the point that he was going to prey on innocent civilians, right? And so Claire's going through these broadsheets and then she sees one of Jamie. Does anyone else constantly look up the actual history? Yeah, I mean, I definitely know a little bit about that history, but I'm not like an expert by any means, but I love seeing like where they are. I did that in the last book too. I was, whenever Jamie went to Spain and there was like a town or city that they had said. And when I look that up, because I just like to picture where they are, like right now I can picture they're in Scotland, right? I know where they are on a map. And so it had said, when I looked up the city, it said it was in Italy. And I'm like, why would they be in, like, why would they go out of the way? But I think it was like a mistake because there's a very similar name in Spain. So I think that's what was meant. But anyway. So Claire is flipping through these broadsheets and she sees one of Jamie and then she sees one of her and it says the Stuart Witch. And it basically said that Charles has used these powers of darkness to aid him in his cause. And Lord Balmerino is like, don't worry about it, because once James is back on the throne, no one's going to think anything about this. But what happens if he doesn't get the throne back, right? Then I guess like he tells her the broadsheets are the least of their concerns. So Claire and Jamie go to meet Colum in a kirkyard. And this part, I have to find this part. I'm actually, I think, going to make a video on this. I have to find it. I think I'm going to make a video on this because this was just so good. And I think it's so important. It's going to be so important in the upcoming prequel, the relationship between Colum and Ellen. So we find out that Colum and Ellen were actually really close when they were younger. And he said that he was always a sickly kid and she would look after him. And even after Colum got married, like Letitia just didn't do that kind of stuff. So Ellen would take care of him. But then she left to go be with Brian. And we don't get a sense of like, Colum is just not like he doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. But I feel like you could tell from this how much that hurt him that she left. And I almost wonder if part of it was he was hurt that she couldn't trust him with her, or like what choices she was wanting to make. I don't know. But hi, Johnny. That's just kind of the feeling I got from it, was not only was he hurt that she left, but maybe that she didn't feel like she could talk to him about things. I don't know. Because they were very set on her marrying Malcolm Grant. So, I don't know. But he tells Jamie and Claire that he actually wrote to Ellen after Willie and the baby died. I didn't realize, please tell me if I'm interpreting this wrong or if I read this wrong. I didn't know, I knew Willie died of smallpox. But I thought it said that Ellen and the baby died of smallpox too. Let me find it in the... Yeah, she was ill. She'd lost a child as well as having the pox. I didn't know she had smallpox. I thought her and the baby died in childbirth. But it says, Yes. And see, that's where it is too. And then she left, he said abruptly, looking down at the broad hands folded on his knee. With no asking of leave, nor word of farewell, she was gone. And I heard of her from others now and then, but from herself, nothing. So I do too. So I really think that he was so upset. I'm trying to find this where he said it. Where was it? Sorry. I have to find this part or it's... Oh, here it is. I wrote to her then, he said, looking abstractedly at one of the tilted stones nearby. When your brother and the babe died of the pox. That was the first time since she left Leoch. I didn't realize she had smallpox. So that sucks, right? And then I didn't realize there was like a pot, like, what page is that on? I'm in a hardback. I think it's the same as like regular paperback. It's on 548, like a little above halfway down. But yeah, Anna, my love, hi. I just didn't realize that. I thought it was just something happened in childbirth and they both passed away at the same time, but I guess Willie died and then she had the baby and the baby died and then she died. I didn't realize that. Anyway, hi Rachel. I look way too much into stuff like that, I know, but it's those little details that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. So anyway, Brian had written to Colum and told him that Jamie would be fostering with Dougal and he wanted Jamie to go then to Leoch for schooling. And so Jamie asked Colum, like, what did you think of my dad? And Colum, honest as ever, he's like, well, I didn't like him and he didn't like me, but I knew he was a man of honor. And he tells Jamie, I know you are too. So he asked Jamie for his advice. And he wants to know, should the Mackenzies back King James or King George? And he knows how Dougal feels. Dougal's very vocal about being a Jacobite. But he said at the end of the day, Dougal will tell him what I tell him to do. Will do what I tell him to do. But Colum wants, Lord John Day all day. Thank you, Rachel. But Colum wants Jamie's advice. He wants to know his thoughts. So he asks him to, think of Hamish, think of your own blood, think of the clan that, Hamish will one day lead and make your choice, based on that, like thinking of that. And so Jamie's torn because having the Mackenzies on their side, thank you so much, Robin, could help them win, right? Like that could tip the scales in their favor, but that's also his family, right? Like his mother's clan. So what happens if they lose? So he's just weighing these options back and forth, but he ends up telling Colum to go home and to keep his men there. So once we get on in the chapter, it kind of sucks because it turns out Colum wasn't going to really have a say anyway because he dies before he can speak to the prince. So now Dougal will be chief, and we know Dougal's going to be gung-ho, let's go, ride or die for Prince Charles. So it's no doubt the Mackenzies will be there. And Jamie, always trying to look on the positive side, is wondering, well, does this mean that maybe we have a shot at winning? Like, could we win this thing? Oh, so then we're at 38, chapter 38, A Bargain with the Devil. And the common cold has plagued everyone. And Claire is going around Edinburgh trying to collect herbs and medicines to, treat the sick. And while she's out, she hears like rumors and gossip about the English army's movements. And she then relays this information to Prince Charles and, Jamie and all of them. And so she goes in to tell her information, and Prince Charles is like, oh, thank you so much. Like, is there anything I can do for you for doing this for me? And she's like, she looks over at Jamie, who just looks absolutely miserable. He's not looking like he feels well at all. And she's like, yes, let me take my husband home. And they all kind of like hee ha ha, like, sure, you want to take him home? Yeah. Anyway, so they get home and she notices that he has a fever. And she's, got this goose grease and he's whining about it. But she's like, let me rub it on your chest. It'll make you feel better, blah, blah, blah. And there's Fergus at the end of the bed. And he's got a fever too. So she puts them both to bed. And she kind of, Mother Claire, I know. So she's out in the other room and she's sipping her tea. And she's thinking about, I thought this part was really interesting. She's thinking about how she's not really gotten sick yet. And she knows that she's not like immune to everything here because she had like childbed fever after she had Faith, which that's not really like like a virus, but I think her point is that like she's not invincible, So she, as a nurse, knows it is like I really enjoyed that. Like that's really like thought-provoking. Like if this could be, Anyway, so she's thinking about how like mothers, if they're around like a virus and they breastfeed their child, like the antibodies will pass to the child to protect the child. And so she's thinking, could certain like antibodies for certain diseases be passed down through generations? And that's why I'm immune to these things, because my ancestors have already had it or whatever, been around it, and it's passed down antibodies through the generations so that I don't get sick. I mean, it's really interesting. Like, it's really interesting thought. But then, as she's lost in her thought, she hears a knock at the door. And she runs over thinking that she doesn't want to wake Jamie up, right? So she runs over and she's ready to give whoever's at the other end of the door like a mouthful. Like, he's not here. Like, just leave him alone, right? But it was the last person she expected. It was Blackjack Randall. If you weren't here in the beginning, I said I was shocked when I saw that because I did not expect him. It's very different from the show. So I was not expecting Blackjack. So he tells her to come with him, and she does because she doesn't want to wake Jamie. She doesn't know what's going to happen if Jamie wakes up and finds him there, so she just goes with him. They go to a church, and he tells her, I'm not going to harm you, like, you're going to make it back safe and sound, like, everything, I promise. So, which, how much do his promises mean? But he is kind of a man of his word. Like, he follows through with, with what he says. Would you have gone with him? I don't think so. Claire's got more guts than I do, though. So I would have been like, Jamie, I know you have a fever, love, but can you help me out here? So they're talking, and he tells her that he needs her skill as a physician. In exchange, he will give her information on the movements of the English army. So that's huge. He's going to turn on his own people because he needs her help so much. And at first she thinks, okay, well, do you need medical treatment from what Jamie did to you at the duel? Because I thought they already did as much as they could do. But he tells her, no, it's my brother Alex that needs help. So he tells Claire that after Alex was let go by the Duke of Sandringham, after all the Mary Hawkins thing, Alex was extremely ill and he couldn't get another job. So he turned to his brother William for help, and he helped him as much as he could, but Blackjack said that William's wife had very strong opinions, and so William didn't help him very much. So it was left to Blackjack to help him. But the problem there is that Blackjack didn't have a lot of money either. So, you know, but it's his brother, so he's going to help him. And he was able to secure a room for him close to the castle so that he could go in and check on him, but he couldn't afford for like a servant or anybody to take care of him, to help him. So his health is really declining and Blackjack's desperate. He needs somebody to help him, and thus him asking Claire. And I think it's really funny how they're talking, and he really truly believes that she's a witch. And, you know, he's like, I've heard all the story. I know, where's Mary? I don't know. I'm curious about that too. They have to come in later. Like, she'll have to come in later. But he tells her, like, he really thinks she's a witch because of all he's heard in Paris, and then the death date. He just truly believes she is. So I thought that was interesting too. Just wait. Oh, okay. Thanks, Robin. I was like, I know what happened, so like she has to come into play somewhere, but I don't know where. So Blackjack being Blackjack, he always likes to take a knife and twist it, right? So he of course brings up Jamie, you know. But I did think it was interesting, and Claire notes this too. Jamie told him, you know, Jamie is the name that my family and those I love, they use that name for me. You will not speak my name. And he doesn't. Like, I don't know if he respects, I guess he does respect it because he doesn't say it, but I thought that was interesting too. But still, he's talking about what happened between him and Jamie at Wentworth. He's like, what did he tell you? Blah, 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 blah. And so the sick thing is that he tells Claire that now there's like this bond or this tie, like they're linked together through Jamie. And I'm like, ugh, no. And she's had enough. Like I know this part was like, ugh. And she turns, like she's gonna leave. I would have left for sure. But she also knows that she really needs this information for the Jacobites to give. Mary will appear when she's meant to. Thanks, Mark. Thank you. But she needs this information to, you know, basically for the Jacobites to get a leg up, right? They need a win here. So she agrees that she will see Alex, and in exchange, she'll get that information. And I think also, like, and I think she says this too in there, like, she's not going to let, regardless of who his brother is, she's not going to let, like, a poor man, like, suffer. She cares about treating people and she wants to help. So I think she would have anyway, but okay. And then we're on to chapter 39. Family ties. And this is when Claire goes to see Alex, and he's really not doing well. He's having coughing fits. He's having a hard time breathing. And so Claire listens to his chest, and she tells him, oh, you know, it's, what is it? Like the catra or something that's going around, like the common cold that's going around. And she tells Blackjack to take out the chamber pot just to kind of get him out. Claire also cursed. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Robin, thank you. So she tells him, like, it's that, and then she tells Blackjack to get him out of the room to take out the chamber pot. And while he's gone, Alex is like, okay, now really tell me what's going on. Well, you know, hurry before he comes back. So she tells him, like, you do have that. Like, you do have the or what, however you say that. Like, I think it's just basically like the common cold at that time. But you also have tuberculosis and congestive heart failure. So that sucks. So she tells him, like, you don't have very long to live. You have months, definitely less than a year. And he kind of, I think, expected that news. So he asks her if at least she can help him with the coughing. And she can. So she goes to brew something for him. And she asks him if he wants her to tell Blackjack. And he tells her no, like, definitely not. And he tells her that he thinks his brother already knows. And I think, too, like, part of Claire is like, do you want me to tell him? Like, please say no, please say no, please say no. Because we know Blackjack's temper. And, like, she wants that information. And she also wants to keep Jamie safe and herself safe. So I think she wasn't wanting to tell him for that reason, too. But Claire ends up going back home, and she asks Jamie, or Jamie asks her if she's heard anything, like any, rumors in the village or in Edinburgh or whatever. And she can't tell him that she's getting this information from Blackjack because he will freak out. So she tells them the information she gets, but the problem is she doesn't know if they're really going to take stock in that, or if they're just going to be like, yeah, whatever, like, that's probably not true. But that's kind of a risk she has to take because it's better than telling Jamie where she got the information from. So on top of this, to end the chapter out, the Jacobite army kind of have a problem because Charles wants to march south and take London, but the Highlanders first are farmers, and it's prime time getting the field ready for crops. So they're not going to want to march south. They're going to want to make sure their family's provided for, make sure they get those crops in the ground. And so that means the numbers are going to go down, right? So Charles has an assignment for Jamie, and he tells him, we already have the Mackenzies on our side. That's great. But I need the other side of your family on my side too. And so he tells him to go to his father's home, to his father's clan, and come back basically like the leader of the Frasers, right? Return to me at the head of the men of Clan Fraser. And we know this is the Frasers of Lovett, right? And Jamie like argues with him. He's like, no, please no. But I mean, he doesn't have any choice, right? Like he's got to order from a prince. So that wraps up the chapter. That was like a short and sweet recap. So next we're headed into the Fox's Lair, which is Simon Fraser, Lord Lovett. I'm excited for this.